This is the Agent Mind Podcast. All right, folks, welcome back to the Agent Mind Podcast. I'm here today with some great information podcast. Get your notes out, your pen and paper out. I've got Andrew Allen from Choice Home Inspections, owner of the company, construction background. He not only inspects homes for all of us agents and our clients, but he's also buying, flipping, buying holds and rentals. So he's immersed in the business. So Andrew, man, thanks so much for coming on the show. How's it going today?
Absolutely. Yeah. Good to see you.
Yeah. So give us the quick rundown. Like, just tell us about yourself. Tell us about Choice.
All right. So my name's Andrew Allen. I got into home inspections in 2016, the end of 2015, 2016, started doing inspections. Got to where I absolutely fell in love with doing inspections. I fell in love with real estate as a whole, flipping, having rental property, commercial stuff, home inspections. I really dived right into it. I spent a couple years doing inspections as a normal inspector, just commission based for Choice Home Inspections. Got really close with the owner. And then in 2020, I purchased Choice Home Inspections as 100% the owner. The Clark Cummings, the previous owner, is still on with us as a new construction inspector. But I'm primarily owner operator doing 2 to 3 inspections, 6-7 days a week. And then, about a year or two after owning the company, I started to purchase a few rentals. So on the side, we are, working on our rental portfolio as well.
That's awesome. And we might have you on for another podcast episode just because of that. And but that's a whole other thing. But just give us a brief rundown of that. Like how many, because I know you have some big goals for this coming year that we talked about before as far as like how many homes you want to flip and kind of building a team. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So our goal this year would be to flip 10 properties and purchase 4 more long-term rentals. So we're looking for duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes. So our goal on that end is, flip 10 more houses and purchase 4 more long-term rentals.
Yeah, that's amazing. So when I say I introduce you as like you're immersed in the business, you're immersed in the business.
Absolutely. And then all these things have helped me tremendously, looking at it from an inspector's point of view, looking at it from somebody that's going to own rental property, things that can go wrong, because I do a lot of inspectors for a lot of inspections for investors that are looking to rent properties, some of them really bad condition properties, and they're wondering what they're going to have to do to make this thing not have a call every week about something being wrong. So it's really given me a different perspective, whereas a lot of inspectors, I think they get a little bit more scared of real estate as they've done more and more inspections and they see more and more things that have gone wrong with certain things. They're like, oh, I don't know if I want to own rental property. Whereas I feel like I'm the opposite. When I go to big inspector meetups, the majority of them are not interested in flipping any properties or owning any rental properties. A lot of the same with real estate agents that I've met as well. But I felt the exact opposite when I got into the industry. So when I'm looking at it for a first-time home buyer, it's the exact same thing as, when I'm looking at it for an investor, a lot of these things, the investor's not going to live in the property. So a lot of these things are, that they're going to need to know up front. And a first-time home buyer is not going to have any experience dealing with any issues. So, they run hand in hand, in my opinion, as far as investors, first-time home buyers, or just normal families looking to get their second or third home.
Yeah. And you do. I've used you before. I know agents that have used you. You're like one of the most thorough, or if not the most thorough inspector that I've ever worked with. So I definitely appreciate that. And on another note, I was going to ask this question later, but I think it kind of fits in right now. You're not a deal killer either. So I know inspectors are like, the house is falling down, like everybody's up in a tizzy and freaking out like that they're buying this big old lemon because of like the wording on an inspection report. So tell me, like, how do you handle that? And have you ever run into any issues with that, and like what's been the outcome?
Well, I mean, the deal killer thing is a real issue, especially in the home inspector world. A lot of these guys they see that as their job sometimes. So in my personal opinion, how I look at the inspection process with the deal killer or defects, what's major, what's minor, it's a major disservice to a client to write up a lot of different things, large words, large paragraphs of different items, And you put them all in this one big list. And so weather stripping on a window seal missing is in the same list as, a leaking sink that's rotted out an entire subfloor in a kitchen. And so a client and so instead of there being 3 major issues, there's now 50. So a lot of inspectors think they're doing the client a good service by absolutely just, putting everything they can think of in this report. But really, the client's mind, it just creates anxiety, and they can't actually determine what actually needs to be repaired. If this is a 1981 property and you've got some weather seals at a window, or you've got some minor issues, you can make a mountain out of a molehill and blow a deal that does not need to be blown. Now, I've seen, a deal will be blown. The inspector will get another inspection from that client. That deal will be blown. The inspector will get another. And these are all the same items that are all 1985 in their price range. So instead of somebody sitting down and being honest with them and explaining to them the type of house they're buying and what they can do to prevent some of these issues, and more of a repair on an as-needed basis, especially if you're buying a house built in 1940. But it's more of a repair on an as-needed basis, and being able to actually sit down and have that conversation. One of my favorite things to do is, once I send the report, if there's a lot of miscellaneous items, is if I can have the client looking at the report and I'm looking at the report and we're on the phone, then I'm able to go down through the report. So let's just say, there's going to be 20, 30 items in every home inspection report, but maybe 2 or 3 items probably need to be repaired pretty quickly. Maybe those would be the 3 that we would talk about. And then, talk about in a timely manner how to address the rest of the items. I don't look at it as I'm the last defense to the client. Like, oh, if I don't tell them everything, they don't have anybody protecting them. The reality is the agents are trying to protect them. I'm trying to protect them. Everybody's looking out for them. And a home inspector is more of a peace of mind. It can be more of a peace of mind.
Gotcha.
Or a negotiation tactic as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I've certainly used that before, to use the inspector report for a little negotiation.
But there is items that have come up now every now and again. You got major, the reality of it is there's very few deal killers that actually exist. In reality, there's only, even going through all the training that I've been as a home inspector, one of the first things they teach you is most homes do not have major issues.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing you're taught as a certified home inspector, is most homes do not have major issues. So major foundation issues can be a problem. Termites that have eaten 30, 40% of a structure could be a major problem. But 95% of problems at a structure can be repaired within 24 hours or 48 hours is the reality of most home repairs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like what you said before, like not every home inspector is going to get on the phone with your client, with an agent's client, and really spend that time to make sure that they understand.
Right. They're not going to understand a lot of this terminology.
Yeah.
So that, when the agent calls and says, hey, did you get the report, and, are we good to go? And the client's like, well, I'm not sure, we got a lot of things on here. And then they just start kind of going down this road of like, we need to ask for this. And they're asking for $25 things and $50 things. And they start, but you got to set that tone from the beginning.
Yeah.
Of, hey, these things are normal. These things, maybe you could ask for a little bit of closing costs. Maybe you could get, so if I had that conversation with them first, usually when they talk to their agent after that, it just is very smooth, because now the expectations are already set, and they're not asking for the seller to come and caulk, around a bathroom counter or to caulk a nail hole anymore. They're not worried about those things because they realize these are normal. These are normal.
Absolutely. And I know most agents I know, they and I definitely do this. I set it up. My phrase, or how I describe it to the client, is, listen, we're hiring a home inspector. It's their job to find things wrong with the house. So
absolutely,
it's gonna, like, they're there to show you everything that could potentially be wrong and what might need to be looked at, in the near or distant future. So don't be scared of it. Like, that's how they stay in business, is finding things wrong with the house. So
yeah, if we don't find anything, then that would be, even on new construction, it's virtually impossible to have a home inspection. When I have a home inspection that's almost perfect, then 9 times out of 10, it's been inspected more than a couple times, and the listing agent has already hired contractors to nitpick and go through every little thing. So generally, that's the only possible way to have. And that's why I really recommend having a pre-listing inspection, We do a lot of those. People are like, I'm going to get my house on the market. The listing agent will say, we can get an inspector out there. And it may be 2 deck boards that are rotted on a deck that can just be swapped. But then the inspector writes it up for the buyer, and it's written up as deteriorated deck, safety hazard. And now the buyer asks for a new deck. When really you just needed, under that rug that you have your table out on your deck, there was a few rotted pieces that you didn't know about. But if you had a pre-listing inspection, you can really catch a lot of these things ahead of time too.
Yeah. And it's certainly, it's such a great marketing tool, honestly. You can say that you have a pre-marketing or pre-listing inspection. It speaks volumes to buyers.
Yeah,
not everybody does that. Yeah,
right. Absolutely. For sure. Yeah. Another thing that we do to try to do more of a service to the client about what's major, what's minor, what issues should be addressed is we have a full color coded report. So our report setup is blue with blue font, red font, and orange font. Blue font is handyman items, loose outlet cover, little things that could be touched up. And then red is safety items. And then orange would be $1,000 or more items, major leaks, roof leaks, damaged roofing, things like that. So you're kind of, as you scroll through our report, you're reading most of our report, we got about a 50-page report. Most of our reports set up to teach you everything about the house. Here's where the furnaces are. Here's where the filters are, the water shutoffs. Here's how you turn off your outdoor spigots. Just kind of, we take pictures of everything that we look at. But as you're kind of scrolling down, you got a large report. When you see a blue comment, you'll say, oh, this is a little handyman comment. Hey, add some extra weather stripping around the exterior door to prevent a breeze. Just minor little things. And then you'll see a safety item, loose handrail on the deck. So that way it's just not a lot of information thrown in your face all at one time.
Yeah, no, I do appreciate that about your reports. It's very easy to read and understand. We're talking about like being proactive about explaining to your clients the process of the home inspection. What can we do as agents? What should we be looking out for?
Yeah, it's one of those rules is that you're trying to get the first house under contract and close. You're trying to get as a seller, you're trying to get the first buyer under contract and close. It's like one of those things. I mean, the number one thing that I hate to see is, I would say agents really need to learn a lot about appraisals. Just up front. VA loan, FHA loan, because I've seen this quite a few times. And I'm not by any means a real estate professional as far as an agent goes. I'm an investor, I'm a home inspector. I've been a home inspector for years, but I'll see. So I try to mention it to some newer agents, but I'll show up to a house and it's got missing shingles. The basement's got water in it and it's got a lot of issues to it, which is fine for somebody that's looking to get a good deal on a house. But then I ask and they say, oh, this is a VA loan. And I'm like, I'll be like, I don't know. Because then you're going to get through this home inspection process and then now you're going to get nailed with this appraisal. So that can be the number one thing. It'd be a FHA loan, and I go around in the backyard and there's shingles completely missing on the roof, which could be fixed, but the appraisal's gonna fail. So that would be number one. So the agent, as you're going and you're walking through the house, when we have a 3-hour CE class called Avoiding the Aggravations of a Home Inspection, and it goes over 10 or 15 things that can kill the deal that have nothing to do with me or you, that just, whether it's the type of piping, lead paint, asbestos, discontinued roofing, electrical. But yeah, as an agent, you can learn about a few of these things. You really want to look at the house when you go there to show it to the client. My opinion is probably the best idea to go look at the house before you show the client, if you can. If it's vacant, of course, if it's vacant. Stick your head up in the attic. It's easy to find these little things like you stick your head in the attic. There's usually the furnace real close to the door. There could be vermin droppings. If there's vermin droppings, they're usually going to be all around the furnace right there by the door, just because that's where the heat is and that's where the mice and the squirrels tend to go. So just little things. And I know agents that do a lot of this stuff, and it really saves. They'll tell the client, we don't need a home inspection on this. We're going to go to another property. But, if you show up and you see a little bit of vermin droppings and you see a little bit of missing shingles, you go in the basement, kind of look around the exterior walls, you see some staining, you see some wetness. There's just a handful of items that you can just check yourself. And then it really goes over a lot better. The client really loves the house. You let them know about these things like, hey, I noticed that there's some vermin activity. We're going to need to get a pest control inspection. We're going to need to get, the inspector's going to write up some stuff. Or, hey, I saw some staining in the basement. We may need to get somebody out here to look, maybe. So if you kind of give them a heads up and then I come back behind you and I kind of assure the client just of what you assured them of. Everything's kind of fallen in place. And then we can get the necessary other auxiliary inspections that we need, or you're able just to talk to the client about what they can do when they close. So the biggest thing is walking through and just really kind of doing a mini inspection yourself, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I would recommend as an agent, like especially a newer agent, if you haven't been on a home inspection before, to go and kind of shadow a home inspector
Yeah.
on one of your deals. Don't get in the way, obviously.
Yeah.
Because they're there for a purpose. You're there to do a job. So, but just to kind of to see what they're looking at and get a little more firsthand experience of what a home inspection is and does, like on premise, and it does make it a lot easier. And I will certainly do that, and I do know a lot of agents also that will do that as well. As I go in and I'm looking at different things than the homeowner or the potential buyers looking at. So they're looking at, like, do they like the kitchen layout and all that stuff? And I'll open up the cabinets. Is there polybutylene piping in there? Is there moisture? Is like the bottom of the cabinet soft? Like, I'm looking at all this stuff while they're looking at, are the rooms big enough and things like that. So, which is good. And I don't bring it up unless they say, yeah, I think I really like the way this house is. I was like, okay, well, a couple of things I'm going to point out, and not a deal breaker. Anything can be fixed, with enough money. Like, do you want to move forward on it? And a lot of times they say, yeah, and I'm not scared of that. And other times it's oh no, I don't even want to start thinking about that. And then you move on. So it's like the communication also between you and your client, and then you and your home inspector, and the home inspector and the client. It's got to be good. And it has to be somebody that you trust and meaning a home inspector that is going to work with you as a partner for your client, rather than killing the deal or not, or worse yet, like not inspecting the home the way they should be inspecting.
Right. It's more of a strategic partner outlook. Yeah. And I was taught that when I got into this industry by the founder of Choice Home Inspections. We're strategic partners in the real estate business. Our job is to assist the real estate agent and the client. Well, because 99% of the time the real estate agent is putting us in front of the client. So we are kind of like an extension of them, even though we're not connected to them, but we're kind of representing them in a way. And so we try to dress a certain way, and we try to kind of look like an agent, and we try to, because we're kind of an extension of them. The way we talk, if we say something that is off the wall, or if something comes up different, then that could reflect negatively on the agent. So it's more of a strategic partner of, hey, my buyer found this beautiful house. They're going to raise their family in it. This is great. Can you come and check it out and make sure everything's great for them? Boom. I get over there. I check everything out. It's not my job to get over there and just destroy the house just because my job is to be a home inspector and inspect every little thing. My job is to be like, okay, is this a good house? And it comes along with experience too. If you've seen 200 or 300 1980 built homes, then it's a lot easier to gauge, okay, has this house been taken care of? Or is this just normal maintenance items? Or has this house been like not taken care of very well? But definitely being a part of it, looking at it with a state of mind of a strategic partner, and being able to explain things to it. I think that's the best outlook to have between an inspector and agent. And I think agents, another great thing for them to do would be look over as many home inspection reports as they can. Start from the beginning. Don't skip over anything. Because if you notice, if you were to call an inspector and say, send me 10 reports, they'll send you 10 different houses. And as you go through, you're going to notice about 50 or 60% of the items are all the same. Pans under water heaters, different little things that just constantly come up. And you're going to start to be able to normalize some of these things. Because I'll have agents that have been doing real estate for a couple of years, and then a pan's missing under a water heater in the garage, and they'll say, is this a big deal? Is this a big deal? Is this a big deal? And I can tell that the agent has no idea. Yeah. But I'm like, you haven't seen enough reports. Like, you haven't actually talked to enough inspectors. You haven't showed up to enough inspections to actually know. And that's what's going to make you the best agent, is like, oh, me, I've seen tons of inspection reports. This is not normal. So you'll be able to point it right out, like, this is not normally in a report, and that's going to make you good.
Yeah, that's a very good point, is getting to know the home inspection reports and getting to know what you'll start to know, like the different decades, what what's
Yeah,
happening. Like if I
exactly.
show a house that was built in the early 90s in Fayette County, I'm looking for polybutylene piping for sure.
Right.
And then, but if it was built in, I don't know, 2000, then I know it's not going to be in there. So just little things like that, you start to get used to, and you're just a little bit more prepared to represent your client and communicate with your client, like the potential issues and in conjunction with the home inspector. So it's pretty cool.
Right.
I have a question though, because we mentioned, you mentioned foundation, I think a few minutes ago, in the report, something that can be frustrating for clients. They'll see in the report, home inspector recommends further inspection, referring to a more specialized trade to come in and look at. So foundation is one, heating and air conditioning tends to be quite frequent. Why is that in there, first of all? And B, like, is that something that is, like, how do we know the difference if it's something that we should really get someone in here to look at that HVAC equipment, or is it just on there to kind of, as for like liability, like cover things on your end?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, there's a few things. Yeah, the foundation stuff. So, a lot of this stuff that's recommended, have an expert come look at would be there's a higher chance of future issues. So, whenever there's like a lot higher chance of so with the foundation guy, you're gonna hey, recommend a qualified contractor, a qualified foundation specialist come evaluate this very large foundation crack or differential movement whenever the wall's cracked. It may be a little crack, but if it's moved in or out a little bit, because you just can't determine in a one-time visit if this is going to be a future problem or if this is currently going. So if you just get your average handyman to come over there, grind the crack and seal it, most likely in the future, potentially in the future, it may not, but it could just break right back open and continue to, it actually could be a current thing. So it's more of a specialized thing because specialized foundation company is always going to provide a warranty with their work. They're going to say, hey, this is either a lifetime warranty or a 10-year warranty, and that's why it's so expensive because they kind of factor in, if future issues were to come up. So it can be a little bit more expensive. With the heat and air, you can really have a handyman come and really do a lot of damage to a unit, wiring stuff around, moving stuff around. So it's like I tell buyers all the time, like if sellers will have a certified professional come out and fix the heat and air, that's great. If they're just going to fix it, you may just want to ask for $500 to have a service, and then you can hire a guy to do the service. It's always better if you're going to be in the home for the next 20 years and there's these few issues, maybe you can kind of negotiate them a little bit more, but it may be better for you to be fully involved. And it's not, and that way you can get the full report from the foundation guy, the full report from the heat and air guy. Same with the roofer. If somebody comes up there and repairs some shingles, there won't be any type of warranty to protect the client in the future. It'll just be to get the deal to close.
Yeah.
So that'd be more of a disservice to the client. But yeah, like, tile showers and bathrooms and like just fixing leaks under sinks, like smaller items that you can pick up the phone and call a handyman. But major electrical issues, foundation issues, roofing, heating and air. Those are the 4 or 5 things. And like I was saying on the original walkthrough, like when you go look at the house, the first thing you do is you're walking around the exterior walls and you're trying to see, does this have a lot of damaged siding? Does this have a lot of damaged roofing? It only takes one circle. And then when you're going in, first thing I'd do would be checking that attic. And then like you're saying, check up under all the sinks. And then if it's got a crawl space or a basement, you want to check for moisture, just like open the door, shine a light in the crawl space, or just look in the basement. Because those are going to be the things that could stop up a deal, because there's a lot of times where I send an inspection report, the lender wants to see the report, and that I've had lenders reach out to me and say, hey, there was no water in the basement at the time of inspection, but there was a lot of staining all over the walls that I saw a photo of in the report. So we can't close this loan unless you send us an email saying that there's never going to be water in that basement again. And so
I love those lenders.
I'm like, so this basement killed this deal with this particular lender. And I can't send an email saying it's never going to leak again. So,
of course,
so that's another thing you want to look out for too, because even if the inspector says, "Oh, this is a past leak," I can see where they fixed the drainage out front and everything, and then we actually get through that whole process. Boom, either appraiser fails it or the lender fails it now. So that would have been something you could have caught from the beginning. And if you did catch, at least the client would feel really secure as far as my agent knows what they're doing, because my agent brought this up the first day we saw the house. And now here we are a week from closing, and we can't close now because of it. But at least they feel like they're working with a well-educated agent that did see it as an issue from the beginning.
100%. Yeah. No, I'm going to make a quick plug because you brought up like working with a lender and all that stuff. So you're going to be at our event coming up on February 6th.
Awesome.
And you're going to be on a panel with a lender. And this is one of the things I'm going to kind of pull out of all you guys. Before we go any further, I got to give you a verbal save the date for February 6th, 2025. The Real Estate Collaborative Network is hosting a huge one-day event on the South Side. Dustin Brome of the Massive Agent Society and Neil Mathwig, founder of Agent Rise, two powerhouse industry leaders together for the first time here in Atlanta. Unlock the game-changing strategies as you learn firsthand the proven tactics they use to drive success in today's market. So whether you're looking to scale your business or stay ahead in this constantly changing environment, this is your chance to gain insights from the best in the business. Link is in the show notes, or go to events.realestatecollaborativenetwork.com to register. And the best part is it's absolutely free, so you've got nothing to lose. I'll see you there. Is the like deal killers and things like that. So I'm excited. We'll talk more about it. I haven't given you much detail on it. I'm kind of throwing this on you, but that's, so if you're listening out there and you want to dig into more of this, we have a great event on February 6th. It's called Build a Massive Real Estate Business You Love. I got some great speakers coming in from out of town, but before that, to kind of to open the show, so to speak, Andrew's going to be on a panel, contract to close, building a circle of success. So really having, it's about what we've been talking about here, is having a great relationship with your home inspector, with a lender, with a foundation guy, a septic guy, a closing attorney, like having those relationships and building rapport and a line of communication. Like all those people have to communicate with each other. And I know and trust, Andrew, that you do 100%, and the other folks on the panel will as well. So just wanted to plug that in. If you want if you're listening, you want to hear more about this, which I highly recommend, come to the event, because Andrew's going to be on the panel to kind of kick us off there. So
awesome.
Thanks for that. Yeah. Appreciate that for sure. So let me ask you this. Let's shift gears a little bit. Kind of on the lighter side, lighten things up a little bit. What's the most unusual thing that you've ever seen at a home inspection?
The most unusual thing, man, there's a lot of things. I would say some of the most shocked I've been is out-of-state investors will find a property online, but it's not really that property. It's a lot of other pictures. So it'll be like in different condos in like South Atlanta or like inside the city. There'll be like different townhome type condos, and it'll be like the one next to it. And so they post it all online. It's for sale. It's a good deal and all that. But when I show up, it's got boarded up windows and doors, and like all the windows are busted out. There's like 15 people living in it. So I've showed up. I've started inspections before and then go into a room and see like 5 or 6 people like passed out on the floor with like drugs and kids and just be like, oh my goodness. And then the investor have no idea, already have earnest money down and everything. So that's happened. The most unusual thing would probably, it comes to mind, it was in Atlanta. It was a 2,000 square foot brick ranch. Well, it was on a basement. And all the plumbing, it was down in a hole, and all the plumbing went down through the basement. It went into a sewage pump, and then the sewage pump pumped it uphill to the sewer. So everything was controlled by the sewage pump in the middle of the basement. And there was tenants living in the property. The homeowner was getting ready to sell the property. He put it up for sale. The tenants got upset that he put it up for sale. So they went down to the basement and they unplugged the sewage pump. And so this was for about 2 or 3 months. In the meantime, there was a family of like 7 living upstairs, and they're just using every shower, every toilet they flush, everything is going down in the basement. It's not pumping out, so it's just overflowing. It's all carpet. It's all finished space down there. So I show up to do the home inspection with the first-time home buyers. So these are first-time home buyers, probably about 25 years old. And then the landlord, the seller, and we all show up there together. And the seller's like, yeah, these tenants, they're not very happy with me. So we'll see how this goes. And so I go in. They're like, come on in. No, they were so excited for us to be there. So
yes, because they had a nice surprise.
right. They had this big surprise. So they're showing me all around, and so the buyers and the landlord are standing at the front door, and she's like, "Come on down to the basement." And so when I go down the basement, it's probably 15 steps to go down. The sewage was probably 30 inches, maybe. It was up a few of the steps, all carpet. There was stuff floating, kids' toys, pillows. I've never seen anything like it. It was probably 1,200 square foot down there, completely black water sewage. And
Wow.
when she opened that door, I was like, and so I went back out there and I had to explain it. That was probably the most severe thing I've ever seen in my life.
Wow. That's crazy. That is very unusual.
I've never seen anything like that.
Man.
Still to this day, besides like, hoarders and things like that. I've still never seen sewage like that in someone's own home,
I imagine they did not buy the house.
Yeah, I have no idea. I know that I did the upstairs and I sent the report, and I'm not sure. I think the landlord took them to court, I'm sure.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a good story, though.
But yeah, I've got tons of them. I've got tons of them as far as hoarders. I've probably done about 20 or 30 hoarder houses where like you couldn't even get into the living room.
Really?
The buyer would have all their family over there making trails for me to go around and look for termite damage and stuff like that. So yeah, I've definitely I've seen entire rooms full of like gallon jugs of urine and things like that, like the entire 200 square foot rooms to the ceiling.
Oh, wow.
Things like that. And those are investors. They're still buying these houses too. So I've actually bought one myself, honestly. So,
well, hey, I mean, you get a good deal, right?
Yeah, you get a great deal.
It limits the buyers, that's for sure, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it doesn't just happen on reality television. It happens in real life.
You'll be shocked by the way that people can live.
Now I need a shower.
Yeah.
After listening to that story. One more question here. Are there any trends in construction that you've seen lately that might be causing an issue, or might potentially down the road?
Well,
it's kind of a loaded question or kind of a broad question, but
one overall thing is they're making homes so energy efficient nowadays. They're like tight. They can't breathe at all. They're not, they used to be a little bit more breathable, which, drafty homes and stuff like that. People don't want that, obviously, but that does give it a little bit more of a chance to ventilate. But yeah, so I do see some issues coming up with how much they're sealing everything up. And then you got the spray foam in the attic. The spray foam in the attic sealing is great. It's doing the whole attic. It creates, if you do the crawl space and you do the attic, it creates one envelope. But then the air exchange becomes really important as far as your heat and air. You really need to have really efficient heat and air systems that are going to be, you're supposed to pull out, you have to have 4 or 5 air changes per hour. So you're supposed to have brand new air in your home 4 or 5 times every hour when your system's running. That's what it needs to be on a really efficient home. So I do see an issue with mold growth and some stuff like that. You get a leak in a wall. It tends to be a little bit more severe. Mold tends to thrive a little bit better with these higher energy efficient homes. And then having the spray foam applied, the temperature and humidity is very important. So I've seen a lot of issues coming up, and I've been to some seminars about this, but I've seen a lot of issues coming up where people are going in their attics and they're sticking their finger in the spray foam and it's like cake mix in the middle. It's like still goo, and it's like, it's not hardened out.
Yeah.
And so it's actually still emitting a toxic chemical when it's in that liquid state. When it hasn't foamed out and completely dried out, it's actually still emits. So I've done several inspections for mold testing where people have terrible migraines. They have terrible sinus issues. They're having these issues. And then we do the mold test. Nothing comes back high. But come to find out, they're having a reaction to that chemical. And it all starts with the temperature and humidity in the attic when they apply the spray foam. So can't always help when the house was built and all these different things. But it is something you can check when you go do an inspection.
Yeah.
It's hard to check everywhere, but I always will kind of slide something. And when you pull it out, it'll be wet on it. So that's one big problem with it's awesome how energy efficient all these homes are. I mean, that's great, but there is a little bit of an issue with air quality, especially if you don't have you got a bedroom upstairs somewhere and you don't have a good undercut under the door, or the return's not pulling air out of it, that one room can go lack of air pretty easily with how efficient everything is. So that's an issue. And then the actual spray foam itself not fully curing properly, which it can be redone. It's not, especially during the home building process, you go up there when your home's being built, or when that's when you can catch it the easiest. But a lot of people, it's slipping by. So I'd say the number one thing is making sure if you do have spray foam added to your home, that you have a full warranty. You pay for the full lifetime warranty of the foam.
That's good. That's good advice. I didn't know that. I was not aware of that. I just learned something for sure. So, so if it doesn't cure properly, you got to redo it. It won't eventually cure.
No, as far as that, because it hardens on the outside.
Gotcha.
And then it creates that insulation barrier. And now it's just goo in the middle, and that emits. That actually has an emission.
Huh. And is that easily identifiable, or is that something that you have to probe it or what?
Yeah, you'd probe it, hire a contractor. You could call a guy that does spray foam, and you could have him come check yours.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I see it happen a lot. Not really on new construction as much, because they do have a little bit more quality control, but it can happen on people that they decide they want to have their home done.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, this is the new thing. And they're calling somebody to come out, and because it mixes at the gun, at the nozzle. So you got the chemical, and then you got another chemical. And as they spray out, they mix as they intersect. And if the temperature and humidity aren't right around it, the atmosphere right around it is not correct, which people go out there in 25-degree weather like we are in now, and they'll go spray in that attic, and it's just not going to mix. So that's a problem. So
absolutely.
As a homeowner, you can learn more about it to go online, but it'd be a good idea to tell your builder to bring it up. Or if you're going to have it done, make sure you do it during low humidity, and then you got actual hot temperature.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. Low humidity around here. There's not much. There's not much time.
It's hard to actually have done. It's not as easy as just, hey, we're going to have it done next week. You can, and it might work out fine. But I've just seen a lot of cases where it's not, and there's not. I'm sure they're going to figure out some type of additive to put to it to make this not happen. But I know there's going to be some lawsuits here. I think there already is.
Well, good.
But I've heard of people having to get their entire roofs torn off.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Because specific types of roofing, more high-end luxury roofing, you can't just scrape it off from the inside. It's actually, we're going to have to take off the decking. Normal roofs, you're just scraping it. And I've been to houses where, I'll tell you a story real quick. So this was kind of a catastrophic story for this lady, but she spent about $750,000 on new construction. They moved in. She's having all type of health issues from the spray foam. Come to find out, it was cake mixy in there, and it was gooey. So they hired somebody to come out and scrape all of it off. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, they were going to put insulation, normally in the ceiling, just spray foam. I mean, just spraying fiberglass.
Yeah.
But when you insulate an attic, now you can run all your plumbing through the attic because it's fully insulated. So when she removed everything during the winter, 2 weeks later, all her pipes in her attic busted. It flooded her entire home.
Oh, wow.
So if you remove the spray foam, you've got to get a new unit, a new heat and air system, because it's a different type of system. And you're also going to have to redo some plumbing. So it's just a big thing to look out for when you're purchasing a new construction more than anything.
Gotcha.
And definitely want to do your research before you call somebody and have your home that you already live in done.
Yeah.
You can cause some other problems.
We could sit here and talk about that all day, I'm sure. But I just learned something. Thank you for that. I'm sure a lot of people that are listening, a lot of agents that are listening, learn that as well.
Yeah.
So that's certainly something to really consider when you're looking at new construction. One of the questions I was going to ask you, but I think you answered it right there. It was like, should we have an inspector? I know the answer. Should we hire an inspector even if the home is brand new, was just built?
Yeah, I say absolutely yes. Yeah. But number one, because you could find something super major, but that's the main reason. But number two, the builder fixes almost everything that you find. So there's just not a reason not to do it. It's like, you do have a year warranty, but do you really want to move in and then file under your warranty, this cabinet door is broken, and then, this faucet's loose, and hey, my glass door, my master shower, that quite clip. And do you really want to move in your brand new home and submit all these claims to your 1 year warranty? Not really. When your builder will literally tie all these things up before closing, as long as he feels that he was done right during the inspection, he will he or she 99% of the time cover everything on the report.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
For sure. And there is some neglect.
Again, I'm sorry, go ahead.
There is sometimes, somebody's not paying attention and might be a subcontractor in there that installs something incorrectly. So it's always good to have it inspected.
One thing that I come across on new construction would be entire walls of outlets that are not hooked up. This random hot water line never got connected. Small things, the water shutoffs inside the garage wall, but they never cut it out and actually put a cover there. Just all these, little things that just get left off. Not usually major things, but I've gotten into the attic before and seen whole areas of a house that didn't have insulation. I've got into a bonus room attic where, you have a vaulted ceiling in a bonus room on the second floor, crawl over the top and look on the other side, and the whole other side's not insulated. And just somebody just left it off. It's not on purpose. So it's always a good idea to have it on new construction. I find tons of things on new construction.
Yeah, for sure. So I've had clients that have said, "Oh, it's new construction. We don't have to get an inspection. I'm not going to waste the money." I'm like, trust me. It's, if you get it and you don't find anything, great, but it's cheap insurance. That's for sure to know what's going on.
You'd be better off not getting an inspection on a house that's a year or two old that somebody moved into. Because now they tested it. You know what I mean? Like once you build something brand new, nobody's actually tested it, lived in it, ran showers and tubs and dishwashers and, and had to deal with all the little things to touch up. Because, that's just the way construction is. But when you buy a house, like there's a lot of times people buy a brand new home built in 2022, their job got transferred. And then in 2023, they're selling it. And then you move in, it's a beautiful home. And, I would not get an inspection on that home before I wouldn't get an inspection on a new construction.
Right.
Because people are all human. They're gonna miss something on a new construction. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, well, cool, man. Well, thanks so much for coming on. I'm looking forward to seeing you on February 6th at the Line Creek Bus Barn in Fayetteville. That's going to be fun. And is there anything I didn't ask you that I should have? You want to add anything to it?
No. I'm looking forward to the event. Cool. I enjoy being around other people that want to be strategic partners and want to talk about real estate and talk about crazy stuff that we've all seen and all kinds of stories. That's my favorite thing.
Nice. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of that there for sure. So cool. All right, Andrew. Well, thanks so much. We'll see you in the next inspection.
Yes, sir. Hey, and if you guys want to find out more about Choice, you can just go on Instagram, just Choice Home Inspections. That's where we primarily post all of our stuff. I got a lot of reels on there that show all kinds of silly, funny stuff that I've come across.
Awesome. Yeah, good point. And I will have that stuff in the show notes. So a link to your Instagram, a link to the website, way to contact you, that'll be all in the show notes there for sure. So
perfect. Well, hey, I'll see you at the event.
Sounds good.